Welcome to Powerful Women Off the Record. Today is my reflections on my most recent guest. Maartje van Krieken was an amazing woman to speak with, and I've done a little work with her, and she's very different than a lot of the women I've worked with, and I found it so pleasant to spend time with her. So, let's start off right at the gate. She talks about, so she's Dutch, most recently moved to New Orleans to create a new life, and building out her career there. But she talks a little bit about the Dutch way. And honestly, a lot of the things she talks about, I don't know a lot about the Dutch way, but after spending some time with Maartje, I would love to learn more. I just really resonated with a lot that she said and the way she says it and the terminology. And man, is she strong. She kicks off the discussion talking about early on in her career, and she knew at a very young age she wanted an international career. Then she finds herself in engineering, and at that time she had to find the path to explore an international career, and she found her way into oil and gas. And she talks about a difficult time early on in her career, and I can actually get a visual of it. She talks about how she was on a project on a Russian island outside of Japan, and with a small team, 8-hour time difference between her support system, her friends, and there she is, trying to build her career in a like she said, a career that, maybe, like she mentions about, it may not have exactly fit at first. And she finds herself pregnant, right? Like, beautiful, what a glorious moment. And also, holy cow, that's tough, right? That's a tough moment when you're not near your support system. You're in a grueling job. Your career is launching, and things happened faster than you planned, which, can happen to a lot of us as women. So I can actually get a visual of her, handling all that. So how strong to work through that. And then, she ended up suffering through a really tough loss where she had a miscarriage. And I want to talk about that for a minute, because I think we need to talk about miscarriages more. Miscarriages are very common. I looked up the most recent statistics because they've always been common, but luckily we're talking about it more. But right now, statistics show 10 to 20% of known pregnancies end in miscarriage. That's 1 in 5. That is how common it is. But a lot of people that believe that study doesn't completely capture, because there's often miscarriages that happen before you even know. So some studies are supporting a 30% miscarriage rate. And I want to demystify that a little bit, because I think when a woman has a miscarriage, a lot of emotions kick in. First off, fundamentally, you're dealing with the loss of a child, right? And because as soon as you know you're pregnant, you're connecting. You're starting to connect, right? It's within you. It's a part of us. So you're connecting and you're developing a relationship with this child as soon as you know it exists. So it's a real loss, and I think everyone needs to acknowledge it's a real loss, and there's going to be grief around that, and it may take some time. I think it's tough enough to deal with those emotions, but then other emotions kick in. Like, what is wrong with me? And, why couldn't my body handle it? Did I do something? All this self-doubt kind of creeps in. And that's the piece I want to try to take away. the older I get, and the more I think about it and talk to people about it, I almost think miscarriage is your first miscarriage is really your body practicing. It's practicing. Your body is brilliant, right? Our bodies have this intelligence that we can't even comprehend, and it knows what it's doing. It is so much bigger than we realize. And I just think, unless you do something extreme, it was not your fault. So if you have suffered through a miscarriage, I just want to say it was not your fault. And take that away right away and realize that maybe it's just kind of designed that way. Maybe the female body needs a practice run sometimes. I mean, let's face it, it is a big thing. It's a big project for the body to build a human being. Can we just pause to the magnificence of that and the intensity of that? So if the body decides it needs a test run, let's let it have a test run. And I'm not going to say it's going to, stop the grief and the hurt and the loss. And I think it's really important that if you do have a miscarriage, you spend time with that and you maybe do a ceremony. Maybe you don't just kind of brush it off. Acknowledge that it is a really horrible thing and it's really hard, and give it its honor. A ceremony can help get a little closure, but let's get rid of the guilt and the self-blame and then the ultimate worry, right? Because that's the next thing that kicks in. And she mentions that as well about, then every pregnancy after that, you're so worried. But I'm just sticking with that where I think it's way more common than we realize. It is not the woman's fault. And it's maybe just the design. It may just be the design. The female body is still such a mystery to all of us, a beautiful, glorious mystery. And we don't know exactly what's going on, but that's my take on it. So again, if you've had the heartbreak of a miscarriage, first off, I'm so sorry you've been through that. And yes, it's real. And yes, it hurts. And yes, it's going to take a little time. But I am going to ask you to not let that self-doubt creep in and that self-blame and, wondering if you're ever going to be able to do it again. No, I just honestly think it's what the human body does. I'm almost 100% convinced. So there's that. So she suffers a miscarriage, and she's got to continue on with her career, and so many of us women have had to do that, and it's really kind of hard to comprehend the things that are expected of a woman over and over and over again in daily life, and that's just how amazing women are. It just blows my mind. So so she suffers a loss early on, learns a lot about herself through that. I love, she then uses the term tiger mom. I had to look it up. I've heard of helicopter mom and mama bear and other things. I never heard of tiger mom, and it's very similar. So thank you for that. I appreciate learning that term. That she's not a tiger mom, and but she has learned. Well, number one, it's almost biological. When the kids come, you're very aware of your responsibility of guiding and directing these beings in their early years of their life. And she's no stranger to that, right? Where she immediately jumped on that and knew, okay, this is my job now. This is a number one priority. And that's, how my life is going to align. So we hear that a lot with, most of the women that I'm meeting with. And, she said she felt that becoming a mother made her even more powerful. Yeah, I'm pausing on that one because I would agree. And maybe becoming a mom is part of your journey or not. But if you're thinking about it, I would say I do think it's a strength, not a weakness. And no judgment if you don't feel like having children is for you. It is such a personal decision, and you have to do what's right for you because that's also what would be right for your child. But I do think being a mom does make you more powerful. Does it kick your butt? 100% in every way you can imagine, ways you can't even imagine. But it also teaches you how strong you are. I think about even at childbirth, right? Like, I did not have easy childbirths. And, so you're in some pain. We'll just say for me, I was in some pain. And then the doctor says, okay, identify where that pain is in your body and push into it, right? And up until that point, it was like, what? Like, I'm not pushing into pain, right? Probably spent my whole young life avoiding pain. And up at that point, I don't think I'd broken a bone or been in a hospital. I did a really good job avoiding pain. And here they are. And it's such a defining moment. Whether you had a tough childbirth or not, what happens in those moments are a rite of passage. Whatever happened for you, it's a beautiful rite of passage. And for me, it was pushing into some of the toughest pain I'd ever had. And that changes you. It changes you as a person. It changes you as a woman. I mean, you would do anything for that baby, right, at that moment. So of course I did, and everything worked out great. But it's just a funny defining moment for a lot of women that don't have the easiest childbirths. But I had a sister-in-law who had very easy childbirth. So I don't know what determines that. I'm not going to speak to that. I know it can go either way. That's a very real reality that some women it's tough, and some women it's not at all. So I don't want to put fear into anyone if they haven't had a baby yet. It can go either way, and that's going to be between you and the baby and your higher self, I think. She talks about then when you have your child, and she had to kind of get right with herself. And I liked how she said that. She said that she needed to be at peace with her way. Like, she drew a line in the sand. She knew that one of her challenges was being too susceptible to other people's opinions up until that point in her life. And she knew if she was going to do this, if she was going to really do this and become a mom, she was going to have to adjust. And she said thicker skin. And the peace, though, is be at peace with my way. That means you are going to let yourself have this experience. You're going to let yourself make mistakes, but it's going to be your way, and you'll get back up and you'll do it again and you'll fix it next time. But if you are a parent and you're constantly self-doubting yourself, or you have someone in your life that is making you self-doubt yourself, that is very difficult. And I believe it's unnecessary and unfair to a parent to always have to be going through that. And yes, you stay open to feedback. And yes, you ask for advice, all of that. But I believe we always talk about, oh, they sent me home with a baby without a manual. I think that manual is actually inside. I think there was an agreement that took place, and you're going to find instincts you never thought you had. And the more you trust them, the power of a parent's instincts, the stronger you'll get and the better decisions you'll make. But and I know with the divorce rate and not all divorces are amicable, and there may be other parties in your life that chip away at your confidence at being a parent, not to mention how society can and make you question things. My biggest advice is you have to go with your instincts because it's your child. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you will, I don't think you'll have regrets because you did the best you could in the moment. And you have to commit to being at peace with your own way. I think that's just so important. I can't stress it enough. And so I hope if you're listening, and if you have somebody in your life chipping in a way, making you lose your confidence as a parent, I don't know, see if you can make some moves in that area and try to stand your ground, because there's nothing more powerful than a mother's instinct. I am sorry. Like, I'll go to the mat on that. If you allow that instinct to grow and you trust it, there is nothing more powerful, right? There's millions of examples of it, of a mother knowing things that they shouldn't have. And even when you get older and you look back at your own mom, you're like, man, she was pretty much right about everything. I probably gave her a hard time the entire time. But, and why? It wasn't because she was brilliant, although she was. It was because I was her daughter, right? It's just that simple. It's biological. She created me. I don't know why it's so hard to grasp that when we're in the weeds of the parent-child relationship, but I don't know. It's almost like there's a fog over it. Like, how do we get that back and just realize how beautiful the parent-child relationship is and strengthen that, and don't let anything chip away at it, and protect that, and that neither are going to be perfect, but it was a divine orchestration to bring these two souls together to journey on this planet. And I'm sorry, but it was for a reason. So I'm just all about protecting the family unit, protecting the parent-child relationship, because there's just a lot of strange things going on lately with it. And I see a lot on social media trying to separate families, and I think we got to be careful with that. I'm all for boundaries, but I do think we have to be a little careful with that. It was hard to hear. We all know this, but when she said she did become pregnant, quote, she shouldn't be pregnant. That's how we feel sometimes, right? Like, geez, I grew up in accounting, and I knew it was taboo to get pregnant in a month that was going to result in you having to take maternity leave during busy season. So women would try to time their conception to avoid that, because it was never looked at just as nature's way. It back then it was looked at as unprofessional and maybe done on purpose. So when she said that, it was almost like a little oof, gosh, I remember that. I remember that feeling, and I'm sure it's still going on in some places. So if you're a woman experiencing that, I am sorry that you're going through that, because we should all just celebrate when a child is coming and rally around that person. So that was a little hard for me to hear. So Maartje, and I'm sorry, I have not done well with her name, and I completely apologize, because names are such a big deal. But she I love how she fuels on connections with peers and friends. And I picked up on that with her a lot in my conversations, even prior to this interview. And I think that's beautiful. And it's, you don't often hear that so much. And I love how she said she's an introvert extrovert. And I think more and more of us are getting like that. But, she enjoys going to networking events. She enjoys connecting with a person at the coffee shop. I'm like that too. It completely embarrasses my children, or at least one or two of them. But I'm that same way too, where I'm like, hey, listen, we're both humans. Welcome to the planet. I see you're here too. I like your shirt. I like your nails. I think your eyebrows look great. Like, whatever it is, if there's something real, and this is not a fake comment, I share it, right? So let's share some humanity together and make that day a little bit better. I'm also a big fan of paying it forward at the coffee shop, in the drive-thru. And if you can pay for the person behind you, oh my gosh, I feel like you pretty much just set up it sounds a little selfish because your day ends up turning out to be great, but I don't know. It always feels really nice to kind of give like that and see how long the paying it forward goes. When she says who, oh my gosh, I have that written down on a Post-it note on my desk. And she's talking about when you start putting these expectations on yourself and you're making your list and I should be doing this and I should be doing that and maybe I should be doing this, that you have to pause and be like, says who? And then, she says, why? And then even more importantly, why now? Maybe it's something I can do in the future. So I love that, and I'm going to implement that when I am going down my list of, I don't know, things that I should be or society is trying to tell you to be. If you can pause and say to yourself, says who, and make sure that you are aligned with that too, and you might be, I'm not saying you're not, but instead of just blindly running down that path, be thoughtful about it. And she was very wise when she said, one of the biggest advice she can give young women coming up is to give yourself that space to think through a lot of this stuff. And she's so right, because momentum can really take you. I mean, you can get really busy and you're just like on to the next task and the next responsibility and the next XYZ. But I love the idea of saying says who. I ran into that honestly with like travel sports, and well, my kids didn't go down really hard on a lot of those sports, but I really wasn't planning on encouraging that. That was a says who moment for me, where instead of traveling every weekend, I wanted to be doing other kind of stuff with the family. So we were a very active family, but it maybe was a more unstructured kind of experience or spontaneous for the weekend. So I love the says who, I love the why, and I love the question, why now? And we did uncover one of those little tricks that I think some successful women use. She talked about the 3-month chunks of your life, that if you're starting something new, a good way to, first off, communicate with those around you and also take some pressure off yourself is just to acknowledge if you're going to start something new, it's probably going to take about 3 months to get into a good rhythm for everybody in the situation, whether that's starting a new job, whether that's moving. It could be literally anything. And let's stop putting all this pressure on ourselves that everyone's going to adjust right away. No, I'm sorry. Like it's going to take a little while. And if you give yourself that 3-month time frame, and then you commit to like after 3 months regrouping, is it working? Is it playing out? Is it good for us and the family? Is it bad for us and the family? But you need that 3 months to kind of let it play out. So I have done that actually many times, and I didn't really think about it. It was just the way I operate. And I think that is a little secret trick, honestly. So there's one of them. Well, I think I'm going to stop there. She's an amazing woman. I hope I actually listened a couple times because there was a lot to kind of take in on the experiences she's had and to kind of wrap your head around that. She's an amazing woman. She's got a great podcast. I've been a guest on her podcast. She's probably one of the top 5 reasons I'm doing a podcast, because after I was on hers and I felt comfortable, it just kind of evolved into what I'm doing now. But she's got an amazing career. She goes into really tough situations that, companies are in the middle of chaos or transition, and she helps them through it. And I think that takes a special person. A lot of people protect their peace and they don't want to be a part of that. She's the exact opposite. And she does it with no judgment because that's her job, right? And she enjoys that. And we all know when companies can spin out or whatever, there's a lot of transition or change and you need to bring someone in. There's no judgment. It's just a life cycle of a business, honestly. So she's got amazing guests on her podcast. Please take a look at it. And, all the links will be in all the social media and on this podcast as well. So once again, thanks for being here with me. Thanks for listening to my meanderings. If anything catches your eye, please, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this. I will respond, I promise. And yeah, so thanks again for being with me. And I will see you next time on the Powerful Women Off the Record podcast. Take care.